My name is Puneet Bhatia, and whilst I'm the second of your studio experts for the day, I will also be your host while Chris enjoys his time off camera making the world a better place. Before the break, we found out what you thought the future of work looks like. But what does the workforce of the future have to say? Millennials currently account for a third of the workforce, with that number set to increase to over 50% in the next decade. So the perspectives and insights of this generation are exceptionally important as we look to the future. Joining me now in studio is Paul Field from Deloitte's own GBS team, and he's going to be chairing this next panel alongside Elitza, Nicole, and Graziano. I personally can't wait to hear why they all chose a career in shared services and what it all means to them. I must say, the last time I saw Paul in the spotlight was at our Christmas social over Zoom, where he was singing karaoke, and he was excellent. Welcome, Paul, and welcome, team.
Thank you very much, Pete, for that introduction. Personally, I was kind of hoping you would have forgotten about that, but I'm glad I was able to provide some light relief during the Christmas period. But as Puneet mentioned, my name's Paul, and I'm the host of this Millennial panel today. And it's quite strange to think this time last year we were in a lockdown situation where everything was virtual, from quizzes, Christmas parties, everything was virtual. So it gives me great pleasure to announce in person the GBS panel are here. So we've got Elitza, Graz and Nicole. Why don't you just give a quick introduction of each of yourselves, Elitza?
Thanks for that awesome intro. I myself have
quite full when I came in the first break.
Star career if
SSC
and GBS doesn't work. So glad to be here with you today and all these lovely co-panelists. My name's Elitza, joined Deloitte in the shared service practice 2 years ago and have had an amazing journey working on a variety of strategy and implementation projects for shared services. And yeah, that's me.
Hi, my name's Graziano. I joined the Deloitte GBS team as a graduate in February of this year, which I think makes me the newest member of the panel. And I've really enjoyed working in GBS since then, and looking forward to today's discussion.
I'm Nicole. I also joined back in 2019 with Elitza, the GBS team, and have experience in a range of finance transformations and shared service projects, and really looking forward to our discussion today, Paul.
Perfect, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the elephant in the room. It's been in the room for the past 20 months or so, and talk about the pandemic. I mean, it's dominated conversations, the news, it's one of those things. But also I want to start with Graz, because you started in February, which was in the middle of the third lockdown. So I kind of want to understand what your experience was like of joining GBS, and I suppose how it changed what you feel might have been.
Yeah, like you said, when I joined, everyone was working from home. And I'll be honest, I was a little bit apprehensive, a bit anxious about joining, because this is my first role in the GBS space. So I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't get the I guess you'd say, learning opportunities from my colleagues that I would if I was in a face-to-face environment. Also, I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't integrate into the team as well, not having, just coffee chats with people or seeing people regularly. I'm kind of glad to say that wasn't really the case. I feel like I was able to learn pretty well. I think that because, like you said, everybody was working remotely at the time, everyone was in the same boat.
Yeah, we did grab a virtual coffee, so that counts in my case.
We did, and it was great, but I just think it's, it's better being in person, and I think it's a lot easier to integrate into the team. I think it's a lot easier to build these relationships. Like with you guys, I've seen you in person these past few days. So although I think working from home can work, I do prefer kind of being face-to-face.
100%. I mean, it's and like I think we were kind of just before the pandemic, so we had the opportunity. So I suppose to listen, Nicole, for yourselves, what has it been like, the transition from every day in the office, every day on client site, to suddenly every day in your bedroom, in your living room, whatever, in front of a screen, just on Zoom, Teams calls?
Yeah, well, I joined Deloitte 6 months before the pandemic happened, so I did have that first initial face-to-face interaction, which was for me really benefiting in terms of networking, meeting the team. So when everything went virtual, it was a lot easier for me to still reach out, collaborate with people, so that was really important. It must have been really hard, I can't even imagine, but I think, yeah, that face-to-face value is still there. But with that said, I think the transition was quite seamless into the virtual world. I think the teams, so we've got Microsoft Teams, Zoom, everything's been able to run, my projects have run so smoothly, and I think a hybrid future is definitely the way forward, because I don't think there's a need for all of us to always be in the office. I think that real value is when the collaboration is needed. So yeah, I'd have to.
Absolutely do agree with that. I think we were extremely lucky that by the time we joined, it was still all there in person. We were able to network, have those by the coffee machine creative chats, get the creative juices flowing. But I think that since kind of the pandemic started, I'd been on an almost year-long project with clients that were across UK, Germany, Netherlands, and quite globally really. And we were able to facilitate very much that human and interpersonal element, perhaps even better than had we all been traveling up and down and having all of that plane fatigue. But I think you need to make those proactive steps to make that work. I think for us, what really worked very well was that we outlined our ways of working up front. So if someone likes to work in the evenings or needs to pick up their kid, the team was aware of that. They didn't put meetings in their time slot. We also had those initial 5 minutes of the virtual conversation used up as a real one. How was the weekend? How's the kids? That was really lovely. We got to know each other on a much more personal level. And lastly, had like fortnightly well-being sessions. So I guess the whole like ensemble of those things made online really, really pleasant, and something that I think is going to be happening a lot more with international project and client work. About hybrid there, I'm still a little bit apprehensive because those events haven't run as smoothly based on my experience so far, especially around giving equal voice of the people that are not in the room. But I'm quite pleasantly surprised by kind of the tech and the innovative methods of hybrid being done well, kind of like today, and then having also VR headsets, mirror boards, and all the other cool gizmos that we've seen in the space. So yeah, agreed, hybrid will be a huge way forward, so happy to see innovations there.
I suppose something you mentioned there is the travel side of it, you know, up and down the country. You used to go obviously internationally. For me personally, you know, it was a great incentive for me when joining, is the idea of travel and being able to work with people in, you know, face to face across Europe, across the world. So I kind of want to understand, why did you choose a career in GBS? Because that was something that certainly reached out to me. Like what was it that made you want to start a career in GBS?
So I think for me it was the diversity within the people that work in GBS, the projects that that you get involved in, and also the processes that you work on. I think it's such a diverse bunch of things to do on a day-to-day basis. Every day that I've worked in GBS has been different, and I think that's something that really excites me. There's always a new challenge, something else to get involved in, and the people that I've worked with is incredible. I'm on a project at the moment with across 17 different EMEA countries, and that exposure to different working styles, different cultures has been a really great learning curve for me. And of course, Paul, I think the initial draw was the travel. It's really great to be able to travel with work. Obviously, I've not had the chance to do that since joining, but yeah, I think in a wider sense, I think it's just the impact that GBS can have on the wider business. I think I've really seen why that's a great space to be in.
Absolutely agree, but that travel aspect, I think we should definitely down a little bit on.
Yeah.
I think we've all watched COP26.
Yeah, that is very true, very true.
After a little bit of self-education, and I guess every time I go on BA and I'm so excited to book my flight somewhere and they give me those tons of CO2 that I'm going to be emitting, the excitement definitely slums down a bit.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Literally. So I guess now that I've kind of shifted mindset in that direction and stopped thinking as much about traveling and all of the glam parts of the role, as you said, really stripping down to the bone of what we actually do. And that's the diversity and the professional experience that you can get within a GBS role, because I've been lucky enough to work on complicated business cases, changing comm strategies, location analytics. So such a huge ensemble of skills that basically the GBS career enabled for me. That's what I'm most kind of excited about.
I mean, for me, obviously, traveling's not really been an option for me, having joined in the middle of lockdown, but despite that, I think I'm really similar to what Nicole was saying. Like, in the short amount of time I've been working here, I've worked with people from South America, you know, South Africa, China, Australia, and it's amazing to be able to work with a very diverse range of people. You know, I feel like it broadens your horizons. I enjoy learning about kind of other cultures. So I think it's still a massive attraction to GBS, the international aspect, even without the travel. And then again, similar to what Nicole said, you know, you're working across the whole of an organisation. You're not just restricting yourself to one or two functions. So you're working with a really, you know, talented group of people. They have very diverse skill sets, and I think that rubs off on you. Yeah. And you know, I'm someone that doesn't necessarily want to pigeonhole myself in one thing. So if I can work on lots of different projects, lots of different, you know, roles, it's very attractive to work in that kind of space. So yeah, really similar to what Nicole says, I think.
I suppose in terms of what you just touched on, you know, things that kind of do interest you. I know you mentioned COP26. You know, sustainability and climate change are quite, you know, it's a big factor in I suppose, the way businesses are operating these days. So I kind of want to understand what is it that motivates you, I suppose, sustainability and beyond, you know, in the GBS space?
Oh, you're very much right. I think sustainability is becoming such a huge thing and so high up the C-suite agenda, and it's really good to actually be in the shared service space and driving that, because as we see shared service centers really go up that value chain, they can really become the agents of sustainability in my eyes within an organization. And I guess the other thing that I'm quite passionate about and really want to see the future of is that customer experience element. I may be biased a little bit by my marketing and consumer past, but still I think it has quite a huge impact. It's such a purposeful thing to work on, because at the end of the day, if your organization is full of like happy, energetic employees, that matters so much. And I think as well, all of us here millennials are quite excited about tech and geeking out about it. So I guess in that consumer and customer experience space, we're seeing all the cool chatbots, the one-stop shops, the platform experiences. So I guess it's been really, really cool to work on those as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree. And sort of for me, something that really interests me at the moment is the maturity assessment and going up the maturity curve. And I know you mentioned their customer experience and that drive toward, we've heard about it a lot today, the centre office, and how this can sort of expand GBS capabilities. That's something that's really exciting, and I think we'll hear a lot more about, especially customer experience, because I think, like you say, everyone wants to have a great experience, whether it's the employees, the customer, and I think that's something that's really going to drive the GBS agenda in the next few years.
I mean, for me, I feel like we're at the beginning of a hopefully long career. So if we're working in a space where we can actually change that future and make it a workplace that we want to work in, I think it makes it a lot easier to go to work. It motivates me personally. So again, touching on that point about GBS influencing so much, you know, it's great. It's motivational to work in that space, so you can really drive the future as opposed to kind of being a follower. And then, as Elitza was saying earlier, you know, we work with some great technologies, and it's great to work with these latest technologies. Very exciting. And again, you know, we're not following. It's great to kind of set the trends, which I think, you know, it interests me and it makes it a lot easier to work in GBS.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but also on the point you mentioned around customer experience, Candice mentioned earlier in the plenary that, you know, of the customer experiences you hear about, it's not the 95% positive ones you want to know about, it's the 5% negative ones that you want to learn from. So for me, that was quite interesting. You know, you kind of, and I suppose that will kind of shape the future. And I kind of want to understand, what does the future of GBS look like to yourselves? You know, in terms of going forward. I know it's something you mentioned before as well.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question. I think if the past year or two has shown us anything, it's that you can't really see what's around the corner. Yeah. But I think there's maybe one thing that, if it's not already on people's agendas, is definitely coming soon, is sustainability. I think people are becoming more aware of it. People care about it a lot more, and it's only a matter of time before it's high up on the priority list for most organisations, if it isn't already. And to me, that means that, you know, GBS has to play a huge role in it in the future, whether it's just kind of setting the tone for the organisation or you know, providing updates on, look, we're not hitting our targets. We are providing that data and those insights so that organisations can drive that agenda. That for me is the one thing that seems obvious for the future. Don't know about you guys.
Hopefully it is. It's obvious to everyone, but we need to act.
Definitely, I'd agree. And I think in the previous years, sort of GBS organisations have been drove towards efficiency, but I think there's that real value add that's starting to come into GBS organisations, and I think this is enabled by things like customer experience, the robotic process automation, the digital enablers of GBS, which I think is a really exciting space. And yeah, I think it's again linking to that centre office concept. You know, it's not just a back end function anymore. There's more that GBS organisations can do to drive value and be at the heart, if you want, of the business strategy and the business value adds forward.
Absolutely agree with that. I think all of those transactional things, once the bots get on top of them, hopefully the people within the shared service centers will be able to do much cooler things. And I know even within Deloitte, we have seen that people doing a lot of things like driving the ESG agenda, driving the Black Action Plan, and doing all of those diversity inclusion stuff that so many people are passionate about, side of desk. And now we're thinking of moving kind of towards giving people more time dedicated to that. And I think that that's what SSC can do very well, with like that people's pair free capacity, as well as doing stuff like decision support, decision making, providing that extra data, be it around those agendas or general business decision making.
I suppose from that point as well, you know, we talk about the future. but in order to have that future, we need to have, you know, the people at the top be able to lead us to that. And it's something that Anne-Marie touched on earlier as well in terms of the future of work. And she mentioned the you know, what good leadership is. And it's always quite interesting to see, you know, in terms of leadership, what people think about it through different generations. With a millennial panel, so I kind of want to understand, what does good leadership mean to you?
I think for me personally, I think from experience of seeing leaders, the one thing that stands out is authenticity. I love it when a leader can be authentic, not just want to stick to the status quo, driving change. And I think authenticity allows a connection between the leader and the colleagues, and I think that really helps for collaboration, open communication, and I think that authenticity is really refreshing to see, and it really helps. It motivates me as well. I think when you see a leader, it's an inspiration as such. I think that's really important asset to have within leadership.
Absolutely agree, because so many are also a lot of talk and then no action. And I think when you're authentic and you actually speak on the topic that you're passionate about, and then your actions very much match all of that, it's always super good to see, and makes us feel like we're definitely part of an organization where change is happening, it's evolving, and that's really, really important, obviously, to where you want to be taking your career and where you want to be staying. I really also love the 6 C's that Anne-Marie talked about. All seem quite key, but I wanted to make a point a little bit from a selfish perspective and what has really helped me from the leaders that I've worked on with Deloitte. I think it's very much their ability to be very flexible about the work they're giving you and really supporting you in your own career progression. So being very lucky that I've had all of those transparent career conversations to work on a variety of things and try new stuff on just across sectors, across clients. And I think that's what's really made me think, oh, this is an organization where I can stay in long term and be able to try a lot of different things. And the SSC would be a great kind of agent for that, because already all of your functions are within one space. Hence, SSC leaders can really provide that opportunity to their employees as well to try just an array of new cool things, keep that talent.
I think for me, the thing that I've valued most, and I think I would going forward, is somebody who instills confidence in you. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this has been my first role in this space. You kind of come as a clean slate and you think, I don't know anything here, should I be the finished article? And it's just, it's hugely impactful and helpful when a leader can give you that confidence to provide your value, to provide your input, and you know, whether that's somebody who just gives you some praise or just guidance in the right direction, it makes all the difference. It's something I've experienced, and you know, I think a lot of people get feelings of imposter syndrome, and it makes a huge difference when you have someone who's senior give you that confidence.
Yeah. Unfortunately, on that topic, we are out of time. But it's been a very good discussion. I want to thank you for taking part. And on the discussion of leadership, I'm going to pass back to Puneet.